Hey, I'm Bradley Blackburn at CBS News headquarters in New York, and thank you for joining us on CBSN. We want to take you now to Albany, New York, where the county sheriff is holding a news conference about a criminal complaint filed against Governor Andrew Cuomo. Last week, the state attorney general outlined a report that concluded the governor sexually harassed multiple women. The governor disputes that. Let's listen.
I am the sheriff of this county, and I have jurisdiction. Not that I'm aware of at this time. Again, we are in the very infant stages.
What will you plan on doing with the governor?
We have not even talked about that at this point.
Sheriff, can you tell us approximately when this incident occurred?
I'd rather not, sir, at this point. Again, we're in the very infant stages of this investigation. I do not want to go any further on that. We have a report on file. It alleges criminal conduct against our governor, and it would be just at this point, it would not be in our best interest to talk about it.
About 4 months ago, you and I, in very vague terms, talked about this, and you said simply, it's up to the victim to come forward before we take any action of any sort. So, is there any indication of why this is the timing now, now that 4 or 5 months after the initial report, she decided to take action?
I really can't answer that. What I can say is it's obvious that the Attorney General released her report. I think maybe at that point she became aware of just how brave the other victims are to come forward, and that may have empowered her some as well.
Sheriff, do you have any estimate of how long an investigation like this usually takes?
You know what? I would be guessing. I mean, this is obviously a very high-profile investigation. There's a lot of information out there. We have a lot of fact-finding to do. We have a lot of interviews to do. And you know what? I'm not going to rush it because of who he is, and I'm not going to delay it because of who he is. We're going to conduct a very comprehensive investigation, as my investigators and my staff always do. And when the data and the facts are compiled, we'll make a decision at that point.
Will it help you that point, Sheriff, your approach won't change, considering that this involves Governor Cuomo?
I couldn't hear the beginning of that.
I'm sorry, to that point, your approach to this investigation won't change as opposed to other investigations, considering this involves Governor.
No, it's obvious a high-profile investigation. I mean, it's the governor. But listen, we treat victims the same. We investigate the same. This one just has more eyes on it.
Have you been all reached out to the governor, his office, lawyers, to notify them of this criminal complaint?
No, I have not. I have spoken to our district attorney and members of his staff. We have discussed it, and we hope to sit down in the upcoming week to come up with a game plan. Listen, the last thing we want to do is continue to re-victimize these victims and have them tell the story over and over again. And I know I've read the report as well. I've read our report that we took from our victim. And again, I commend them on their bravery for coming forward. And now it's time for us to begin our investigation.
Would your investigation have been assisted at all if the Attorney General also had a criminal investigation instead of what we got earlier this week?
It would be hard for me to answer that. There's other investigative data out there, I'm sure. That's the information that we're looking for. I'm sorry? Well, right now, I would say that our investigation is involving criminal conduct. I believe that the Attorney General was given their investigative powers were steered more towards civil investigation. Our investigation is more towards a criminal investigation.
Sheriff, would you be kind enough to walk us through the process going forward?
So, obviously, Mr. Primo and his client came in on Thursday afternoon. As I said, they had roughly an hour of a more or less meet and greet and explanation of the criminal justice process and how this is going to proceed. From here, we've already requested investigative material from the Attorney General and the private counsel that they had hired out. We're waiting to review what comes back, as well as the district attorney from Albany, and I believe there's several other district attorneys involved in this at this point. Our focus is right here. And then at that point, we'll review that data. At some point, we're going to have our victim back in for probably a very lengthy interview, could be a series of interviews. And at that point, depending on the facts and the circumstances, we'll sit down with the district attorney and make a decision to move forward with a criminal charge. Based on, again, I'm really on the peripherals of this, but it would probably be a misdemeanor, possibly a couple.
And one last question, if I may. You presumption there that they've been victimized. You're at the preliminary or very infant stage of this investigation. So when you say victim, does that telegraph that you believe that they've been victimized?
Well, you're being very presumptuous as well.
No, I don't mean to be, and I apologize. I'm just...
So, again, I think we've all read the Attorney General's report. I think we know what's in it. At this point, I'm very comfortable and safe saying that she is, in fact, a victim. And, again, I commend all of them for coming forward. This is a very tough time, and for something that you know is going to put a lot of stress and pressure on a victim, I give them all the credit in the world.
One of the major parts of this particular allegation was the fact that Executive Assistant number 1 is anonymous. So that being said, what do you think is or should be the role of the media as it relates to this? There's probably 20 cameras here right now.
Listen, I obviously want to protect all of the victims. You know, we spend hours of training and learning how to handle victims, and, you know, they've had a lot of stress put on them. They've been through a rough period of time. The last thing I want to do is continue to re-victimize. I think every time that their faces pop up on TV or their names are mentioned on TV or radio, it does, in fact, probably put more stressors on them. I think, you know, I know that it's, you know, everybody wants to know what's going on, and it's your job to report that. I just think at some point, you know, showing the pictures and things like that, enough is enough.
Do you think she needs to maintain her anonymity to protect this investigation?
I would like to see that, but I cannot tell her to do that or not to do that.
Do you think it will be revealed over time as a function of the judicial process?
Yes.
Have there been any requests to subpoena any records from members of the governor's staff in connection with this?
Not at this point. But again, we got this complaint Thursday afternoon.
Sheriff, is the governor going to be questioned, and is this the kind of case that could lead to an arrest?
It would be very premature for me to answer that regarding questioning him, but obviously, yes, it could lead to an arrest.
And so, Sheriff, your agency is affecting that arrest?
Would our agency be affecting that arrest? Absolutely.
Is there a specific date on the complaint of when the behavior...
I'd rather not get into that.
The Albany Police Department does have some small involvement in this. Is this going to be at some point a joint investigation because of the overlapping jurisdiction with law enforcement?
I'm not sure what their involvement is in this. Our investigation is partnered up with the Albany County District Attorney, and David and I have had a couple of conversations and bounced a few messages back and forth as a result. How it expands, I cannot answer that at this point. Well, I would think living in a digital age, we could get it expeditiously, but I'm not confident of that. So I'm hopeful that we'll have it maybe in the middle to latter part of this coming week.
I know the state police are sort of close to this on a number of levels, but at some point, would you enlist their help as well?
We may. It all depends, you know, how the investigation unfolds. I think as far as investigations or in forensics, I'm very confident in the men and women that work for me. But we may use the lab at some point.
And a recurring theme from the administration as a whole is that a lot of this has just been political in nature and motivation. How can you reassure those who are questioning whether or not this is politically motivated that it isn't?
Politically motivated?
From your office?
From my office? Well, I can tell you, Darrell, that I had a female victim come forward, which had to be the hardest thing she's ever done in her life, and make an allegation of criminal conduct against the governor. I think as far as the sheriff's office, I am elected as well. I think that we have a proven record in this area, in this region, of helping people, taking care of people, and I think that's what we're supposed to do as law enforcement. I think that's what we're supposed to do in government, is take care of people. I have a young lady that came in who's alleging that she was victimized, and we're going to do everything in our powers to help her.
Sheriff, just generally speaking, can you talk about how your office works with the district attorney's office in cases like this investigation?
So we will share information back and forth. We may enlist the help of their investigators. He has, 7 to 10 investigators over there as well. We may have to partner up to do some interviews or something to that effect. But ultimately, it's welcoming to have the district attorney involved on the foundation. They're very familiar then with the investigation going forward. They know the facts, and you're not in the 11th hour trying to push a case on him and expecting them to make a quick decision.
When do you expect to reach out to the governor's office?
I have no timeline on that whatsoever. Again, we're not going to rush this because of who he is. We're not going to delay it because of who he is. We're going to conduct a very comprehensive investigation, and when the facts and all the data and the evidence is compiled, we'll make a decision at that point.
And besides getting the Attorney General's material, what other things do you need to have happen first before you reach out to the governor's office? Do you need other types of materials or other types of evidence?
Yes, we do. I'd rather not disclose exactly what we need, but yes, we will need more than just information from the Attorney General. And don't forget, there's going to be an interview conducted at some point with our victim.
And why won't the criminal complaint be released, perhaps in a redacted form to protect her identity?
In addition to the identity, I was asked by our district attorney not to release it at this point until we have an additional meeting to discuss exactly what we're going to be able to gather. We didn't want to have singular pieces of paper out and about, so we're just going to keep everything in-house at this point.
And when will you be meeting with the district attorney?
I'm hopeful for, it could be even tomorrow. It could be Monday or Tuesday at this point.
Sheriff, all of the allegations are borne out to be true that this woman has come forward with. Can you tell us if that would be within confines of a misdemeanor, or would it be a felony?
Well, I don't think that would be proper for me to answer at this point. What I have read so far, I can say that, we're floating around a misdemeanor, but again, that's just from the Attorney General's report. We haven't had an in-depth interview with her.
What are your conversations made yesterday about the governor's attorney?
I'm sorry?
The comments made yesterday during the briefing with the governor's attorney.
I did not watch any of that.
At that time, you said our process.
Do we plan on, excuse me? I can't understand. It would be improper for me to answer that right now.
Is it safe to assume that you are protected as far as retaliation from the administration, or do you think that there's a chance that the administration, meaning the Cuomo administration, would retaliate against you, as there have been ongoing rumors of that kind of behavior?
I'm the county sheriff. I'm not going to be intimidated. I'm not going to be coerced. That would not be.
And the county sheriff up in Albany there speaking live. He is promising a comprehensive investigation and saying that Governor Andrew Cuomo will receive no special treatment. And again, a criminal complaint has been filed against the governor. A former executive assistant is accusing him of groping her, and that accuser spoke with CBS News in an exclusive interview. You can hear her account on Monday on CBS this morning. And also the sheriff said that his investigation is in the early stages, but he did say that it could eventually lead to an arrest, and his department would be the one to arrest the governor. The governor's attorneys laid out their case on Friday. They held a news conference trying to discredit the woman and the state attorney general report that concluded Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women.